Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Carlo, bringing you the only news show that covers the Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and Rhinebeck communities. Let's take a quick look at the stories we have for you tonight. Can hypnosis change your life? Find out more about the subconscious mind in our roundtable discussion later tonight. What happened at the Village of Larchmont organization meeting? We have the highlights coming up. Which team made our varsity sports play of the week? Looking for a summer camp? LMC TV's summer film workshops are just right for your creative teens. And finally, get ready to meet our pet of the week. Alleged secrecy in the village boards was a concern in Larchmont this past Monday. At the Board of Trustees organization meeting, concerned residents voiced their frustrations to the trustees. One particular topic was a project on Vanderburg Avenue that was approved in a closed planning board meeting. A Larchmont resident called for an ethics review and pointed out that perhaps the board doesn't care about the village's residents.
So that's the concern.
So you're not
protecting who? I am concerned that nobody's protecting us, that we're protecting the builder.
There's nothing legally that this board can do to a planning board decision, and that's on purpose. That's because you want to protect a planning board and a land board procedure from political pressure, because we're elected. If you don't think you got a fair hearing, we can suggest, we can talk, so we can get the sense of what happened from the planning board itself. So I'll be very happy to do. But I'm telling you, legally, your appeal is to the courts under Article 78 appeal.
Additionally, at the meeting, Mayor McAndrews gave a State of the Village address where she spoke of Larchmont's financial status.
The good news about the village is that we are in good financial shape. If you look at what we have just received from the treasurer, we've had an increase of almost 1% in our assessments. That's terrific news. That's additional added assessments to our base. We've also started our tax reassessment purposes through the good offices of our assessor, Dan Whittemore, in order to get our tax roll at 100%. It's an effort that's going to take a couple of years, but it has started. We are going to be creating a real capital budget and a real budget plan. The good news is that we have a AAA rating, so we can borrow cheaper than many of the state funds that you read about for our capital project.
Now, there were two more announcements from this meeting. The date for this year's Larchmont Memorial Day Parade is set for Thursday, May 21st. And if you are still interested in enrolling your child in Flint Park's day camp from July 6th through August 14th, you may do so by bringing a completed application to the Larchmont Village Hall. Asked to see Brian Riley, the village clerk, the camp will enroll 200 kids, so this is on a first-come, first-served basis with no refunds. The application can be found online at villageoflarchmont.org. Don't forget that you can find more information on municipal meetings at lmctv.org. Coming up, our highlights of what's trending in our local online community. Here's this week's In the Media.
The Journal News claims credit for finding a mistake in the proposed budget for the Mamaroneck schools. Reporter David McKay Wilson explains how his query to the district led to $2 million being cut from the budget figures first presented to the board. Thanks, Mr. McKay. You can read his story at lohud.com. The Patch reports that Jesse Saperstein, an advocate for those with autism, will be speaking at the Hommick School on April 13th. He himself has Asperger's. His talk is free and open to the public. Parents are encouraged to bring their children, grades 3 and up, please. It starts at 7 p.m. in the school auditorium. There's a link at thepatch.com for more information. And from the Journal News, a story about Mamaroneck senior left-hander Kumar Nabyar, who threw a complete game with 7 strikeouts in a recent 3-2 win at North Rockland. was a big game. Both third-ranked Mamaroneck and fourth-ranked North Rockland are expected to be major contenders in Class AA this season. Get the whole story online. And finally, from the Loop, an announcement that 3 unique lectures are coming soon to the Mamaroneck Library. The first is Sunday, April 12th. It's called Must-See Treasures of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the speaker is an acclaimed art educator and historian, Suzanne Altman. Get the details in theloop.com. Well, these are just a few of the stories that caught my eye this week in the media. I'm Mike Witch.
When we come back, join us for our live discussion about hypnosis.
Can you be hypnotized to better health? We're discussing therapeutic hypnosis and what it may be able to do for you. I'm Maura Carlin, and with me is Mike Witch.
And as always, we want you to join the conversation by phone, email, or tweet. Our contact information is on the screen.
You're getting sleepy. And now you're going to do embarrassing things. That's what many of us picture as hypnosis. It's entertainment on the Las Vegas Strip.
Is that yours? Yeah. Do you remember taking that off? No. All right. Here, I'll help you. There we go. You instantly realize you will not be able to remember how to put on a shirt.
Our guest tonight does hypnosis for treatment purposes, not for entertainment. Bob Pargamet of Westchester Hypnosis. Bob, thank you for joining us. And let's start with, what's the difference between what you do and what we just saw?
Okay, great question, Maura, and thank you, Mike, also for having me on your show tonight. There's a big distinction. Stage hypnosis is, by definition, for entertainment. People do get hypnotized on stage, actually. I know people who do stage hypnosis from this, from this occupation that I do and from the trade groups that I'm involved in. That is a real form of hypnosis. People are acting out, but it's important to express that they act out because they want to act out. The stage hypnotist is trained to find the most eager volunteers, the exhibitionists in the audience who are the ones who are raising their hands the highest, to volunteering for this. And they act out because they want to act out. They would probably be the person who's wearing the lampshade on their head at a party, more likely than not. They're outgoing people, they're extroverts. The work that I do is designed to help people with issues, with problems. So the two biggest categories are smoking cessation and weight loss. I do a great amount of that. But I work on all sorts of other issues, a great deal of anxiety work, test-taking anxiety, for example. Just did a session yesterday with somebody who has a white coat phobia, so to speak. Goes to the doctor, his blood pressure goes way up, and I hypnotized him with imagery and so on to help him with that. I've worked on a whole host of issues. I mean, really too many to list right here, but it helps people solve problems. This kind of hypnosis, stage hypnosis, again, is real, but it creates a good deal of confusion in people's minds because they naturally walk away from it with the notion in mind that they can be made to do something that they wouldn't normally do, and the truth is they really can't. People are very alert and very aware during the process.
Are you put into a trance? I'm sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
Are you, when you're being hypnotized, are you in a trance?
Oh, by definition, you're in a trance. Yes, you're in a particular brainwave state. It's somewhere in the alpha or theta range of brainwave states. There are 4 key brainwaves that we generally experience during the course of a day. Beta, state of heightened awareness. Alpha, relaxing, reading a book, watching a movie, you might be in alpha. Theta is getting into deep meditative states or hypnosis. in which the mind becomes more suggestible. The logical, critical part of the mind is present, but not as front and center as is the subconscious mind at that point.
But are you under the control of the hypnotist? I mean, I
No,
think that's one of the
no.
things people fear.
No, people are surprised to know that they're actually very alert, very aware while in hypnosis, and yet very relaxed. It's an interesting dichotomy of feelings. Most people can't understand how you might be so profoundly relaxed, often described by people as the most relaxed they've ever been. I hear that all the time. People are amazed at how good they feel during and after the session. But at the same time, you're also in a state of heightened awareness in a very comfortable way. It's almost as if the funnel of consciousness is wider while you're in hypnosis. But we're accessing another level of mind. I call it the hard drive of the brain, so to speak, in which patterns are recorded, and we can change those patterns, whether they're for smoking or overeating or phobias or whatever it might be, to alter that perception or alter the feeling on an ongoing basis. It can be life-changing.
I just wanted to say that this advance notice of our show tonight has provoked a lot of questions, and one of them goes right to what you were starting to explain there. Questioner wants to know, how does it work, and can someone hypnotize himself?
Yes. Well, I teach self-hypnosis to almost all of my clients when time permits. How does it work? Well, we go into states of trance organically all the time. When you drive your car and get off at that exit you've gotten off at umpteen million times and don't really remember getting there, we call that highway hypnosis, and it actually is a state. You're in a different state of mind. You're driving and operating a vehicle, doing all of the intricacies of operating that car, but you go into another place, so to speak.
Of course, sometimes you end up going to the wrong place.
That has happened to me a few times, absolutely. So you can hypnotize people countless ways. The swinging watch actually is a way that you can hypnotize people, but you can do it with in many ways. A handshake, staring at a spot on the wall. I do it in what's called a progressive relaxation. It's very comfortable for people. They're listening to my voice. They're gently ramping down into the state. Some people go into it in 5 seconds. Some people go into it in a couple of minutes. But I'm, without tooting my horn, very good at getting people into that state.
How does you know if someone's a good candidate for hypnosis? Whether
there's much said about that, and from my experience, it's really overstated. It's really, I think everybody is hypnotizable, unless there's something organically present in the brain that prevents them from reaching that state, which I have yet to. I've hypnotized people who are mentally challenged, all sorts of different issues. I find that really everybody is hypnotizable. Some people will go into deeper states and draw more out of the experience than others, but almost everybody can get something out of that process. I've rarely met somebody who couldn't be, and if it didn't happen on the first time, I would encourage them to come for another session, and I would get them there on the second time.
Here's an interesting question.
Sure.
Can you use hypnotherapy on your animal, perhaps to help him overcome anxiety?
I'm not an expert on hypnotizing animals. I do know that some animals are. I believe certain birds, if you stare them in the eyes, or certain other animals will go into a state of trance. They say that rubbing the stomach of an alligator or something can put them into a state of trance, but I've never hypnotized an animal, I must confess. Sorry, viewer, I just don't know.
How is meditation different from hypnosis or other relaxation techniques?
It's a wonderful question. So you're essentially going into those same brainwave states when you're in meditation. That's what led me into hypnosis. I like to meditate and go into these deep places. The difference is that generally meditation is to clear the mind. That's what most people are aspiring to while doing meditation. Hypnosis is sort of meditation with an agenda. Most people can't hypnotize themselves, meditate themselves into a deeper state. If they start to let go, they often pull themselves back, unless they've had coaching from an organization of trained professionals who do transcendental meditation or something like that and have been really instructed and practiced, then they can become adept at it. But hypnosis is using suggestion, well-crafted, what I think should be creative suggestions to help the individual reach that particular objective. So I use a lot of imagery. It's meditation with a tour guide, but somebody who hopefully really knows what they're doing and knows how to get that person to that objective, to that goal.
We have another question here from a viewer. Are hypnotists bound by a code of ethics like a doctor is?
Yeah, there's a structure. I'm a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, and we have structured in that regard also a code of ethics. Of
Is
course.
there licensing?
It's a certification. So I'm certified in pediatric hypnosis. I'm certified in weight loss hypnosis, various aspects of the profession.
I guess I'm trying to understand how it works. So let's use a concrete example. Let's try smoking for a moment. So you get them to relax, and I assume that there's something that gives someone an urge to smoke.
Right.
And how do you change that? I assume you want to get rid of the urge or substitute it for something else.
In the interview before we do the hypnosis, I would ask that person, what is it that you hate about smoking? What's bringing you here in the first place? I look for emotional reasons. That's really, I think, the most compelling reason to quit. If somebody says they're quitting just for the money, for the cost of smoking, I'll generally tell them to come back when they've thought about it some more or have a deeper reason for wanting this. But when people are fearful of their health, about their health, many people are coming to me at the very precipice of developing COPD or emphysema. Many doctors refer clients to me. They make good candidates, generally speaking. So what I do is I put them into the state. I then start offering them imagery that is really compelling and really starts to enable them to see in a way that they might imagine what it looks like as a smoker if they continue down that path. I use a lot of what we would call Ericksonian style hypnosis to create image or storytelling, and also what we call direct suggestion, repeating in their minds, I'm free of cigarettes, I'm a non-smoker. Different hypnotists do it different ways, but it's actually an area that I do quite a bit of work in and get a lot of satisfaction from because I'm an ex-smoker. So I smoked about 20 years ago and I actually quit on my own, but I understand the smoker's mindset. I really understand what drives the smoker to do this. I'll just add one little thought on that as a footnote to that. People aren't really addicted to smoking, they're addicted to nicotine, and it's a big difference. When they start to frame it that way, they begin to reframe the whole experience. People confuse this back and forth with the habit that's just delivering the nicotine.
Okay. What about weight loss? What do you find? I was hypnotized once, many years ago, or more than once. I made several visits to a professional in Rye Brook.
Yeah. It changes what I call the apostat, or what other people term the apostat.
What's the apostat?
The mechanism in our brain that tells us when we're full. It's one aspect of it. I really attack it from sort of a multi-pronged level. It's about changing that apostat so they actually feel full eating much less. So that's part one. They're drinking more water. I'm motivating them to exercise and eat healthier foods. So it really is interesting how this happens. People will often say to me, after their first session, I sat down to dinner the next night or for lunch or whatever, and I couldn't eat what was on my plate. I just couldn't eat more than half of what was there. And that's exactly the suggestion I've given them. So they actually push the plate away. They feel much more in control. But it does seem to have this ability to reset, in my opinion, this mechanism inside that tells us when we're full. So you need less.
So that you're changing a physiological sensation then?
Yeah, oh yes. Well, hypnosis has long been understood to have profound effects upon the human physiology. People have surgery under hypnosis. If your viewers go to YouTube and put in hypnosis and surgery, you'll see amazing videos of people having serious surgery without any anesthesia under hypnosis, which enables them to heal faster, control bleeding, control scarring. It's widely used in many parts of the world. Here we're more of a pharmaceutical culture, so we go that route, I think, unfortunately, in too many cases. But many people who are a little practiced with hypnosis can have serious surgery, and it's quite remarkable, pain-free.
Okay, so I have to ask, would you ever have surgery just under hypnosis without anesthesia?
I might. I mean, I haven't had that opportunity to do so.
Opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, not a good opportunity necessarily. I haven't had that experience, but I'm pretty good at going into the state myself, so I, could probably do that with a little practice. But it's quite remarkable. Just go onto YouTube and you'll see tons of this.
Your surgeon might have another point of view about cutting you open.
In England, they use it widely. Dentists used to be trained in hypnosis in this country. Again, pharmaceuticals took over, but in England, the history, as I recall from my training, is that that British surgeons and British dentists were trained in hypnosis on the battlefield. When they ran out of morphine in World War I, they would use hypnosis in lieu of the chemical anesthesia to do things as severe as amputations, actually.
Wow. I understand we have an email.
We do. Here's a viewer she's talking about our subconscious mind. She's heard that dreams are a reflection of our subconscious mind. She wants to know, should she pay close attention to dreams and nightmares?
Well, dreams are from the subconscious. There's some sort of mechanism. Sometimes it's a storytelling mechanism that we have to recapture the in visual form or imagination form the events of the day. I just had one the other night that comes to mind. I was watching a television show, and sure enough, just before I went to sleep, and sure enough, in my dream, some of that story was revealing itself. I think we should pay attention to it, but sometimes it may, it's still very subjective. So sometimes, as Freud, I believe, said, a cigar is just a cigar, and it doesn't really mean anything. So we can either analyze it, maybe get something out of it, or sometimes overanalyze it, and where it's not necessary.
One of the interesting things I saw on your website was about using hypnosis to improve performance, both physical and mental. Can you explain how that works?
Sure. Well, for example, I do sports hypnosis occasionally. There was an article in the Westchester Wag not long ago about my work in that regard. Most major athletes use hypnosis. The top athletes do. Really? Oh, sure, with sports psychologists or whatever, to improve their performance, because while you're in that state of hypnosis, when your imagination is peaked and you are perhaps seeing yourself swing your golf club more fluidly or hitting that ball in the batter's box, when you're actually in the batter's box or at the tee, your brain has recorded that more relaxed way of doing it, and you'll replicate it when the actual performance is starting. So I've had people actually shave 10 or 15 strokes off of their game just from doing the hypnosis a couple of times.
So it's like muscle memory, but for relaxation?
Yeah, well, when you perform well, whether I've done it for musicians, I've done it for gymnasts, I've done it for actors, your mind is recording, that process of visualization, and so it's there for you. You're in the zone, so to speak. When athletes perform at their peak level, they're in the zone. They're not really thinking that much. They're relaxed, and the body is delivering what it knows how to deliver, and the mind knows what to deliver. So it's set free to perform in an unencumbered state while actually doing that particular sport.
I was just thinking of that line from the movie "Let the Force Be With You."
Yeah,
just trust in the force.
Let the zone be with you in this case.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I guess he was hypnotized, Darth Vader. I'm not sure.
We have another email. How much control could you possibly get from someone in trance? I guess that means you, as the hypnotist.
How much control?
How much control could you possibly get?
How much control does the hypnotist have?
Yeah, I guess what
the person is totally aware. Again, they're in a state of heightened awareness. Some people go deeper than others, but they're still hearing and they're still aware. So if you said something to somebody that really ran contrary to their belief structure, their belief system, they would just disregard it or come out of hypnosis. So the individual, I always tell people that this is a common phrase that good hypnotists know. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So the analogy might be that I am the passenger in the car. They're driving the car. I'm sitting in the passenger seat or in the back seat. I'm saying, take a left here, take a right here, but they're driving the car.
Another thing I found interesting is how this can help with relationship issues. Do you use it as therapy where the couple comes in?
Just did one today. Did one today. So this was about a negative feeling, without getting into too many specifics, that somebody had that was interfering in this person's relationship with their mate. Negative feelings, feelings lacking in trust, let's put it that way. And so by envisioning that person with that other person, trusting and being in a particular situation, much like I did, do with athletes, only it's just a relationship issue, this can change that, that habitual reaction that person had. So it can help dramatically in that regard.
How many sessions are required to help, let's say, an athlete or someone in a relationship? It's more than one.
Well, yeah. The only area that I do in a single session is smoking cessation. I do that in one session, and most people are very successful with it in one session. I throw a lot in there. I'm really, really giving it my all. I charge a little bit more for a smoking session because it is done in one, and it runs a little bit longer. But typically it's either 3 or 5 or 7 sessions. I try my very best to give people the minimum amount that they need without going overboard with it, because I want them to, I don't want it to be overly costly for them, but I can throw a lot in over those 3 sessions. So everything, driving phobias and other issues, I do in 3 or 5 sessions typically.
Does insurance cover hypnosis nowadays?
I don't take insurance personally, and I don't think for most other practitioners that it does either. It's sad because, I think about how many people I've helped quit smoking or lose weight, become healthier, which is going to be much less burdensome to those insurance companies down the road. But often these companies are behind the times. So,
I do remember that when I went to the hypnotist, I came away with something physical. She gave me an audio tape. Is that something that what's the role of that?
So you can repeat it. You want to reinforce the suggestions. This is in some ways a repetitive process, particularly when it comes to food, for example. Smoking, once you're done, you don't have to smoke anymore. And if you choose to stay on that cleaner side of your road, your life, you can stay a non-smoker for the rest of your life. I have many people, heavy smokers, who have done that. Food you face every day, so you want to reinforce it with a CD. I give them a CD or send them a file online that they can download to their phones or their computers and listen to it, and that makes a big difference when they reinforce it. Those people
I guess you could tell how long ago that was when I said I got a tape.
I think we have one more email.
People still call it tape. I'm amazed by it.
Okay. Come on, machine. All right. Viewer wants to know, can hypnosis help with chronic pain or recurring issues like arthritis?
A great question. Again, back to the surgery reference before. Hypnosis is a natural analgesic and a natural anesthetic. So people can actually have serious surgery, and yes, it can reduce pain to some extent. And I would encourage the viewer, or anybody who is feeling that, to actually even change the language. Call it discomfort, call it a sensation, call it something other than this predictable word that will reinforce that feeling, because it's all linked. But yes, it can dial down that sensation to a much more manageable level.
How do you find the right person to do hypnosis for you?
I think it's, my website draws a lot of traffic. I get a lot of references from doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. Sometimes they come to me for hypnosis. I think, it's really a matter of comfort. It's a matter of rapport. It's a matter of experience. I've been doing this, this was a second career for me in life. I came to this 12 years ago, 11 and a half years ago. I've hypnotized thousands of people over that time now, groups as well as individuals. And so it's I guess looking at that person's website. Do they have a quality website that really shows, expresses their thoughts about hypnosis, where you get a sense of that person's personality? I think there are certain elements that make a hypnotist good. I think it's an interest in humankind and empathy, creativity, voice is important. Being able to really understand what that other person is. I think that's one of the reasons, for example, that I can help people with smoking as well as I do, because I was a smoker, so I understand what the thought process is. And so if you find somebody who has that kind of life experience, I'm also trained in certain aspects of life coaching, you can be, I think, an effective hypnotist, but it is a certain skill set.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I want to thank you, Bob Pargamet, Westchester Hypnosis, for joining us and really enlightening us about treatment hypnosis.
Thank you, Maura. My pleasure. Thank you, Mike.
And thanks to the viewers who wrote in and made this segment even more interesting. When we come back, the sports and pet of the week, so stay tuned.
This week in sports, the Mamaroneck boys lacrosse team faced off against North Rockland looking for their first win after 2 losses to tough opponents to open the season. LMC TV sports producer Rob Moretti has the highlights of the LMC Varsity Sports Game of the Week.
Hey there, sports fans. Rob Moretti here with some boys lacrosse highlights. The Mamaroneck Tigers hosting North Rockland. Tigers still hunting for their first win after an 0-2 start to the season. It's junior Eric Greenberg opening the scoring for Mamaroneck. Nice goal shooting across his body. Just a short while later, right off the face-off, 3 quick passes and Chris Conley buries it for a 3-0 lead. My goodness, how do you defend that? But don't count out the Red Raiders just yet. They convert on the fast break to cut the lead to 2.
There it is right there. Your
Very next play, another face-off win for Ben Shapiro. Feeds to Reed Malice, who puts on a nasty ankle breaker and finishes to make it 4-1. Take another look at that move by the senior star. Final minutes of the first quarter, Conley finds Alex Ewald, who puts on a nice move of his own. Easy put in, 7-1 Tigers.
beautiful pass from Chris Conley there as Greenberg was able to...
Second quarter now, and Ewald's not done. Greenberg feeds him, and he converts perfectly executed one-timer. Look at Ewald catching the ball at the top of his windup and then putting it home. Couple plays later, it's Malice again from 15 yards away. What a snipe, 9-2 Mamaroneck.
With the quick pass and the whip shot.
I promise you this isn't the same play. Reed Malice, another laser beam from Ben Shapiro, now 13-2 Mamaroneck. Tigers would take a 13-3 lead into halftime. Second half action now, Malice feeds to Conley, so shifty, Tigers up 14-4. Later in the third, North Rockland can pass too. That's Dylan Senator who makes it 16-7, but that's as close as this one would get. Jack Harrigan late in the fourth, using the size advantage to get a good look, and that makes it 18-8. Tigers go on to win 20-8, improving to 1-2 on the season. Reed Malice led the scoring with 6 goals and 5 assists. Here he is following the game.
Teammates? Possession, first of all. You know, we wouldn't have scored all the goals we had and wouldn't have had the success if we didn't have the ball. That's key. Ben Shapiro winning faceoffs, that helps. And then just the chemistry. You know, everyone was moving the ball, everyone got their opportunities, and we were just lucky to finish when we had the chance. So.
Remember, you can watch the full game this weekend on Cablevision Channel 77, FiOS 34, and next week on demand at lmctv.org. For the Local Live, this is Rob Moretti.
What an offensive performance there from Mamaroneck. Thank you, Rob. LMC TV is gearing up for the 15th annual Filmmaking Summer Workshop. Let's take a look inside the summer camp.
Looking for your child to have a great summer? Sign them up for LMC TV's Team Filmmaking Workshop. Young people 12 and up have an opportunity to film, star, and direct in their own movies. Check out last year's participants. Don't let your teen miss out on a fun, productive summer. Sign them up today. LMC TV, your community connection.
Meet our pet of the week, Baby. She is very loving and looking for her forever home. She is microchipped and well-behaved. If you'd like to adopt her, please contact the New Rochelle Humane Society at their website, newrochellehumanesociety.org. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of The Local Live. Stay tuned for our next show, which we will be discussing the Larchmont Library renovations with our guests and what we can do to make them happen. For more details on the stories you saw, visit our website, lmctv.org. Any concerns, comments, or questions can be emailed to us at thelocallive@lmctv.org. I'm Anthony Carlo. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next week on another episode of The Local Live.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.